What's up, guys? Rick here with your preview for this week's Cognizant Classic. We're going to go through the golf course, the field, everything you need to know for this week. But I do have a couple of announcements right out of the gate that are fairly important. Actually, all my announcements are important. So, yeah, these are, of course, important. First off, our listener league. I mentioned this on Wednesday, I believe, but just an absolute, golf clap hat tip to you guys. We filled our listener league on Splash last week with 24 hours to go. I immediately texted the co-founder of Splash and said, "Hey, knock, knock, knock. It's full. We need it to be bigger." And he said, "I got you, homeboy." Not his exact words. So we are up to a $12,000 guaranteed purse, up from 10,000, up from 7.5, up from 5. So we are making our way up here as we get to. I'm sure the Players is going to be big. I've got something in the works for the Masters, and of course we've got this major championship pool as well. But we've got a $12,000 purse for the Cognizant. It is already 20% full on Monday morning. Go get your entries in. We are going to rock and roll here. Hopefully fill this thing pretty quickly, and I can send out another text for this week. The winner is going to get $1,500. If you get it, the minimum payout is $36 on your $20 entry. That's if you're in the top 100. So have at it. I've really enjoyed these. I've enjoyed dropping the lowest score. All good there. Secondly, you may have seen this. You guys know I have a very good relationship with CBS Sports. That continues. However, the First Cut podcast that I did with them has been retired. It's been put out to pasture, so to speak. Not my decision, not any of our decisions. I am going to continue my relationship with CBS Sports, but underneath the Sports Line brand, underneath the relaunch of a podcast that they call the Early Wedge, which is very focused on golf betting, golf fantasy. I'm not going to be on every single episode. I will be on a couple of times a week. The important things for you guys to know, and this has always been my relationship with CBS Sports, is that nothing preempts the Rick Run Good content. The Rick Run Good DFS show always runs priority to anything that I do for anybody else. The live chat always runs priority and will always be first for anybody else. So with that being said, the live chat that we do weekly for the foreseeable future is going to be Tuesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time instead of Wednesdays. That is to make sure that we do it first here and we do it right. And then I will also be on a show on Wednesday for CBS Sports. So again, I'm always going to give priority to the Rick Run Good stuff. No problems there. And then finally, just because people, I got a couple questions about this when I announced, hey, the First Cut is going away. People said, what does that mean for Rick Run Good? Well, the answer is nothing. Rick Run Good is completely independent of CBS Sports. I am the sole decision maker and the one who pays the bills for Rick Run Good. So nothing. We're rocking and rolling. We're going to continue as usual, and everything is going to be honky dory. All right, let's jump into this week and start with the golf course. All right, here we go. My website, RickRunGood.com. This is the course key stats. We're going to PGA National. This is the champion course. This is historically one of the more difficult golf courses on the PGA Tour schedule, but they have pulled out a few of the teeth. Number 10, instead of being a very difficult long par 4, will be played as a par 5. That will change the score to par, but par is just a social construct, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. It will provide, at least from a fantasy perspective, a little bit more scoring opportunities, some more birdies, so fewer bogeys, things of that nature. But if you see anywhere where it says, "Oh, it's a par 4," like they're playing it as a par 5. We are getting Florida golf here, right? Florida golf is usually flat. It is usually Bermuda grass throughout. It is usually peppered with bunkers and water, and PGA National is no different, right? This is, I think there's 80 some odd bunkers on the golf course. There is water in play on 15 holes, and on many holes, it is in play on multiple shots. I'll just show you the overhead here. You can see it. Water along the entirety of the outside of the golf course, and then on the a couple of kind of ponds or lakes. I don't know what you would call those, but also creating situations. Looking at number 1 specifically here, just because I've got it pulled up. Uh, on the left-hand side, water left. Now, there is a pretty generous landing zone. I say landing zone because I don't mean fairway. The fairway width on number 1 at 290 yards is only, God, it's tiny, 14 yards wide. That is very, very small. However, the landing areas are much bigger. So the landing area at 290, the safe landing area, is, let's see here, there to there would be 51 yards. Okay, so you're talking about what, almost 4 times as wide. Now, you're going to have maybe some palm tree trouble, maybe some tree trouble, the rough, 2.5 inches of rye overseed, not the worst thing in the world. It's just, if you are very errant on the tee shot, that water comes into play. It is a little bit more narrow up on the approach shot, but you get the bunker on the left-hand side that protects you from balls from going into the water there. So one is, listen, I wouldn't say it's like a fun hole, but I wouldn't be worried about the fairway being 14 yards wide. Here's another example here. If you can carry this bunker at 290 on number 4, you open up a lot of this golf hole and you take out a lot of the trouble. I'm trying to find another hole with water, like on a par. Here we go. So this one is a lot more dangerous. This is number 6 here. So this is a spot where you're going to see a lot of balls in the water on the left-hand side because this landing area is much more narrow. And then you're also seeing it come into play on the second shot. That was an example that I wanted to show you there. So water everywhere. If you look at the regression model for this week, it's almost a tour average golf course, quite frankly. You see the green, what is this, radar chart, and the black segment. The black is the tour average. The green is this week at PGA National, and they're almost sitting on top of one another. So what that means is you get a little bit of edge for driving distance, you get a little bit of edge for putting, you get a little bit of an edge for strokes gained approach. If you look at some of the secondary stats where you're going to see some bigger differences between tour average and PGA National, you get a lot of what I would call par saving stats. So putting from 10 to 15, that could be pars or birdies. Scrambling from 20 to 30 yards, that's missing a green. Approaches from 225 to 250 from the rough, not a big deal. But you see like sand safe percentage. You see putting from 4 to 8 feet. You see scrambling from 10 to 20 feet. This is, so you see a lot of that. So to me, this is a little bit more of a short game golf course than some of the other courses that we get on the schedule. I also wanted to show you this. So this is quickly becoming one of my favorite charts here. So, okay. So this is all starting to make sense now. So what I do here is I look at all the tee shots that you can hit. So I get rid of the par 3s. So this is just the par 4s and the par 5s. Look at every single shot that's hit, where it's hit, the location, the distance, all that stuff, and then adjust for scoring and say, what's the bigger penalty? Is it a bigger penalty statistically if you miss the fairway or if you hit a long drive, longer than average? And then whichever one of those is greater, I say, okay, this is the preference. So for example, on number 1, the preference is accuracy because you are getting basically the missed fairway penalty is twice as penal as the reward for hitting a long drive, which is why you see the average drive on number 1 be very, very short because of what I showed you, which is the fact that there's not a lot of fairway and there's not a lot of reason to push it up there. It's a very difficult fairway to hit. Guys lay back there. So it's a little bit of a cause and effect. I see, and I'm just going to sort these so that I can count them a little bit easier, a pretty even distribution here. Accuracy reigns supreme. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 holes. You guys just watch me count to 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of them prefer accuracy. 6 of them prefer distance. Wow. That's sick, isn't it? Very good split there. Very good split. So you got to have it all off the tee. All right, let's get into some players here. There's only 2 players in the 10K range on DraftKings. Russell Henley is 10,700. Shane Lowry is 10,500. I mean, we're obviously going to talk about both of these guys because why wouldn't we? So Here's what we've got going on here. Russell Henley won this event back in 2014. Over the last 6 trips, and he plays it most years. He did not play it 2022, 2023. Plays it most years. He has not missed the cut since 2017. He has 4 top 25 finishes in his last 5. I do a little bit worry, though, about this here. Ever since the Tour Championship, he has not driven it well. Now, he's a great approach player. He is not a long hitter. He's an accurate hitter, though. So when I look at the statistical profile and you look at what he has done at this golf course, he has gained strokes off the tee at this golf course pretty routinely, but he's losing strokes much more frequently now than at other points in his career. That is a little bit of a concern for me. He's going to have to be better than what we've seen in 2025 off the tee to have a chance to pay off this big salary for him. Putter's been good. Around the green play has actually been better. It's not historically good here. And then the approach play, I can get away with that. But that is a little bit of a concern for Russell Henley. Do we have those same concerns for Shane Lowry? The answer to me, probably not. We'll pull up his history here and look at basically everything but a victory. Last 3 years, 4th, 5th, and 2nd. That runner-up finish in which I know that I had a bet on him. And he, I will never forget this, has the lead on like the 71st hole. Might have been the 72nd hole. A Florida rainstorm comes through, which means it poured for 7 minutes. And then the sun came back out. During those 7 minutes, he ran out from underneath his umbrella. Looked like he was going to melt because he was wet, hit the worst shot I've ever seen him hit, gave up his entire routine, ran back under the umbrella, the water went away, the rain went away, and he lost the golf tournament. I think Sepp Straka won that year. So I will never forget that. But otherwise, he's playing great golf right now. And I note the fact that he did lose 1.7 strokes on approach at Torrey Pines for the Genesis Invitational in his most recent start. However, that's the first time he lost strokes on approach since the Memorial. It is likely that we get a better outcome there this week. He is driving it beautifully. The results are coming through. He just never stopped playing great golf. Played great golf at the end of the fall portion, through the Tour Championship, through the European Tour schedule, into 2025, the runner-up finish at Pebble Beach. This, to me, is much more solid and lacks a little bit of that concern that I think Russell Henley has, and he's $200 cheaper. So it's probably going to be difficult for me to find a path where I'm taking a lot more Russell Henley than I am Shane Lowry. If I split them, fine. Maybe I go 60-40 on Lowry, 70-30 on Lowry, but unlikely that I go 70-30 in the other direction. The 9K range. So we only had 2 guys in the 10K range. The 9K range is very interesting. I believe that Daniel Berger is like hashtag back or whatever you want to call it here. The advanced metrics really since the fall, they've been good, but even better than being good is they've been on brand, right? You never, even if they're good, you don't want to see like Rory McIlroy losing strokes with his driver, even though he's putting up good finishes, or you don't want to see Denny McCarthy struggling to putt, even though he's putting up good finishes, right? This is a very Daniel Berger profile. Gain throughout the bag, be solid everywhere, and get the results. T2 at the RSM Classic, T2 at Phoenix, 12th at Genesis. Love what he did in Phoenix, picking up 11.5 strokes from tee to green. That's a golf course that really lets the great tee to green players separate themselves. He did just that. His history here, very good. Missed the cut here last year. He lost 5 strokes putting, by far his worst performance at PGA National of his career. Had a 4th place or back-to-back 4th place finishes in starts before that. A runner-up back in 2015. Florida guy. Like this is to me a pretty big go on Daniel Berger. I also wanted to show you this. If you go to the Holy Grail and go to Course Horses and load up everybody in this field for PGA National with a minimum of eight rounds. Actually, what you're going to see, and go back to, I just opened this up to 2015, so open it up pretty wide here. Daniel Berger's played 24 rounds here, 1.6 strokes gained per round. It is the best of those who have played the most, right? So nobody has played more rounds than him as well as him. So Daniel Berger gets a pretty big nod from me this week. I've got him favorited. I've got him locked and loaded, ready to go. The rest of this 9K range is pretty interesting. You can make an argument to skip the 10K range and kind of load up here. I do not hate that whatsoever. The one thing that has me really concerned is Sungjae Im, and I am dying to know what the industry is going to do with him. We'll get the projected ownership obviously over the course of the next few days, and it'll get more accurate as we get to Wednesday night and Thursday morning. But boy, this is arguably the worst golf that we've seen from Sungjae Im in a long time, and it's a really, really high bar. So it's not bad, right? He finishes 4th at Farmers, then he goes T33 at Pebble. That was pretty ugly from a statistical standpoint. T57 in Phoenix, that was pretty ugly. Genesis missed the cut. That was pretty ugly. He has hemorrhaged strokes on approach in 4 out of his last 5. He's lost 3.8 strokes on approach in 4 of his last 5. There is not another stretch in his career where he has done that. That is, well, I guess it wasn't as bad, but he did lose 6 in a row to start 2024. Maybe he's just a slow starter to the year, but I hate that. I hate the tee to green numbers. His history around here is awesome. He won it in 2020, 8th in 2021. He's missed the cut twice in his last 3 trips. This to me is like, maybe they're not red flags, but they're pink flags. They're getting red. I'm nervous about this. I'm interested to see what everybody else does with him. I'm not going to lie to you. There's a pretty strong case to be made for everybody else in this 9K range. I won't take up all of your time here, but just very, very quickly, there are positives about every single one of these guys. Taylor Pendrith at 9,500 is probably playing some of the better golf from everybody in this range, but I hate the way that he's putting it. He's usually a better putter than that. Sepp Straka obviously just won the American Express, played well after that. He got beat up by Torrey Pines, but so what? Everybody gets beat up by Torrey Pines, and he's a great record around here. We already talked about that victory that he had. Denny McCarthy might be the worst case to be made. However, he's coming off a T5 at Torrey Pines. His 2025 has been every single weekend and 3 finishes of 16th or better. His history around here, I think the last couple of years he's missed the cut. He's actually missed the cut in 5 out of 7. So that's the knock against him. Minwoo Lee, we've talked about the improvement that he has had on approach. He has kind of lost that. Which is the concern, but his history here is decent, right? He had a top 10, he had a runner-up finish last year and a T26. And then Ben On, if you saw that Course Horses tool that I pulled up earlier, one of the guys with 18, or 2 of the guys with 18 rounds, not as many as Daniel Berger, but have played better than Berger, are in this range. Sepp Straka, 18 rounds, 1.9 strokes gained per round. Benny On, 18 rounds, 1.74 strokes gained per round. So I think that's everybody in the 9K. Oh, and Keith Mitchell's got back-to-back top 10 finishes here. Wow, okay. Potpourri, have your way. Have it your way. Take your pick. I don't know, whatever. Just do it. I can't think of any other slogans. The way that I rank them is probably this. I think Berger's probably 1. I think Sepp Straka is probably 2. I think that Taylor, I will say price considering, Ben On is probably 3. Then I would put Keith and Taylor and Minwoo in the same category. I'd throw Denny in there as well, kind of the next tier. And then Sungjae is just, I'm going to have to wait and see the ownership. If he is significantly underowned, which he might be, who knows? I have no idea. This is I don't know what the industry is going to do in this 9K range. I would go there, but this is a very, very, very strong range. All right, the 8K range is here, and boy, we've got some big names, and I don't think I'm interested in either of them. We'll start with the top, which is 8,900 at Davis Thompson. Really good to see the tee to green numbers back again. Okay, this is what we wanted to see. Look at the build up to his victory, just demolishing it from tee to green. +9, +5, +2, +1, +8, +9, +11. That was the win, and then probably a sigh of relief, right? And some okay finishes, but just like, oh man, my life has changed, my career has changed, all this stuff. Throughout the entirety of that run from to now, he has driven it really well. The approach stuff has left him. Now it is starting to get better. I really like what he did at Torrey Pines. He especially the first 2 days was awesome on approach. If you look at the tee to green numbers from 3 out of his last 4 starts, they are much improved. I think that we are now getting him back on the upswing. And if he was playing better, if he was playing like he was in the summer before the win, he'd be like $9,900. Okay, so I think that we are catching Davis Thompson on the way up. One of the big names is Cameron Young. And again, if you saw it on the course horses, basically with 8 rounds, nobody's been better than Cam Young at PGA National. T16 in 2022, T4 in 2024. Let me tell you, those stat profiles are long gone. Just like distant memories. And I wish that wasn't true, but it is. He has lost strokes on approach in 8 straight. The putter, outside of an unbelievable putting event in Phoenix, hasn't really been all that good. Even the driver at times has left him. How was Cam Young a 0 at Torrey Pines? How? Boy, very, very concerning stat profile there. Jordan Spieth, playing the Cognizant, I want to call it the Honda every single time, for the very first time. Why might that be? Brian Windhorse, what does that mean? Meme. Could mean a lot of things. Could mean he wants to play. Could mean he thinks he needs to play. Could be they've got baby on the way and he needs to play now before baby comes. I don't know what it means. On paper, this is about as bad as it gets for Jordan Spieth in terms of golf courses. Tight with water coming into play on a lot of different shots. The putter has been disgustingly bad. He's lost strokes putting in 6 out of 7. The approach play has been bipolar, very Jordan Spieth-esque. No, thank you. I will wait and see, and I will enjoy the ride. I want to talk a little bit about Kurt Kitayama here, because Kurt Kitayama burned a lot of people last week, myself included in some ways. Although, boy, one and done, we all really dodged a bullet. If you were going to whiff in one and done, last week was the perfect week to do it. Nobody got any money. Nobody it was the smallest purse of the year. Nobody had Brian Thompson in our Brian Campbell. I don't even know the guy's name. Brian Campbell in our one and done, the RickRunGood one and done. Like a handful of people had Pot Geeter. Nobody had whoever finished third, Celinda. There was like no money made. So we kind of got away with it. But let me show you this. So you get this big discount from whatever it was, $10,200 last week to $8,300. He drove it well in Mexico. He picked up 2 strokes off the tee. He hit it well. Picked up a half a stroke on approach. His around the green play was positive. He was a bad putter. Now he's going to get to go to Bermuda grass, where 2 years ago when he played here, he picked up 5.5 strokes putting. I want to look at his Bermuda numbers. Yeah, it's the only positive putting surface that he has. If you look at his course history, he is, again, only 8 rounds, but 1.8 strokes gained per round, one of the top players at this golf course. If you look at the trends tool, he lives in that upper left-hand optimal quadrant of breakout candidates, which is if the putter comes back to 0, where's the juice to squeeze? And oh, by the way, he's going to a much better surface for him. Forgive and forgive quickly on Kurt Kitayama, I think, is the answer. I mean, just everything is pointing towards Kurt for this week. Honorable mention to Ben Griffin, honorable mention to Michael Kim, although he said he was a little bit tired. Novak, I think, is an interesting option as well. But the guys that I pointed out are probably my favorites in this range. The $7,000 range here has Alex Smalley, and can we just give Alex Smalley just a little hat tip? He's playing very, very well here in 2025. Actually, I bet you if we go look at the power rankings, last 36 rounds, where's he at? Well, maybe we have to cherry pick 24 rounds. Let's see. There he is. 24 rounds, 1.36 strokes gained per round, 4th best of anybody in this field. And I like the way he's done it. The improved putting numbers. I bet you if we go to here, strokes gained trend, look at the last 24 rounds. Here's Alex Smalley. Yeah. He is gaining 3/4 of a stroke putting per round to himself. That would normally be a pretty big red flag that there is regression coming, but he's also gained a stroke per round from tee to green to himself. And I do think that we are, listen, it's been 5 or 6 starts where he's putted really well. The other thing is, this is his best surface. The other thing is, can you see that on the screen? It looks like there's like a text box or something behind my chart here. I don't know if you guys can see. I'm gonna have to look into that. But the numbers are still very, very good. That just caught my eye and annoyed me. I want to look at Billy Horschel really quick, because anytime you get Billy in Florida, it becomes a little bit interesting. He's played this event basically every single year, has a bunch of top 10 finishes, but I don't know if I love the state of his game. Oh, it's really bad. Yeah, okay, we're going to pass on Billy. One of my favorites is Nikolai Højgaard, not Rasmus Højgaard. So we have been, knock on wood, the Højgaard whisperers so far in these young careers. It was clear when Nico was the best player. Then I think we quickly identified that Rasmus had surpassed him and was becoming the better player. But this is the ebbs and flows of brotherhood. And I believe Nikolai, maybe not long term or whatever, but I think he is very, actually I don't even think Rasmus is playing this week, but Nikolai is back to playing well. We've talked about this a lot, how much he played on the DP World Tour and had very good, strong tee to green metrics for last year. He goes to Phoenix and finishes T36 and doesn't even put together that good of a stat profile. Mexico was much better. Picked up 10.5 strokes from tee to green, finished 8th for the week. If you go and look at a lot of different things, right? If you noticed it, power rankings last 24 rounds, he's the 10th best player in this field. The trends tool, I believe he was up near the top as well. Yeah, the last 24 rounds, he's got the highest trend. So basically how the last 24 compare to his baseline, and then where does that give you on the boost side of things? He is up there. Just a really good price for a guy that I think has a ton of upside in this event, and especially at this price. I wanted to look at Christian Bezuidenhout's profile real quick. I know he has putted so well here in the past, which is absolutely true, but he is reliant, very, very reliant on that portion of his game. Very bad ball striking numbers. So probably going to have to pass on that. Luke Clanton, in all likelihood, makes the cut this week and gets his PGA Tour card. Just missed out on it by a stroke in Phoenix after starting off with a really slow round on Thursday. Played much, much better on Friday. Had a putt for the tour card, did not get it to drop. I think he gets it done this week. Very, very good player. Very good setup for him. We continue to roll on here at the bottom of this range. So Jake Knapp and Ryan Gerard. I don't think it's crazy to continue to chase these Jake Knapp runs here. He's still very, very cheap at $7,300. The improved play, look at it. It's just, 1 green, 2 greens, 3 greens, 4 greens. What I liked about what he did last week is he basically should have missed the cut. He had a very bad Friday. Bizarre, had that situation in the bunker where he thought he had a penalty stroke and then they rescinded it. Still had a very ugly Friday. The cut line comes back to him and then he goes nuts on the weekend and ends up finishing in a tie for 25th. So rounds 1, 3, and 4, he was phenomenal last week. And then at Torrey Pines, if you go back, he was really great in rounds 1, 2, and 4. Phoenix Open, 1 and 4. Pebble Beach Pro-Am, 1 and 3. We just need him to put together all 4 rounds. I think he is getting closer to doing that. And he's only played here one time in which he finished T4, which, by the way, he had good rounds 1, 2, and 4. He cannot put 4 rounds together, this guy. But at $7,300, it is still worth it. Ryan Gerard 2 years ago got his first crack at the PGA Tour at this event. He picked up 7 strokes on approach. He picked up 8.4 from tee to green, tried to make a run at the PGA Tour, had to go back to the Korn Ferry last year, comes back, and now we're getting the good stuff again. Back-to-back top 20 finishes, T15 at Farmers, T17 in Mexico, and he's going back to the place that has one of his best, if not the best result of his entire career on the PGA Tour. He has won on the Korn Ferry Tour in that time period. So really, really like him as well. And for the first, usually I tend to live down in the bottom of the 7K range. I'm not necessarily sure that's what you have to do when there's so many other great plays in that upper to mid 7K range. The 6K range is pretty ugly. I think this is the first time you get a real tangible drop off here. Chris Ventura at 6,900 feels easily like he is the best player. Finishes T25 in Mexico, bookends the week with an unbelievable opening round, 5.5 strokes gained to the field. I think he was one of the first round leaders, if not co-leader on Thursday night, and then he finishes strong as well. And just looking at the profile from 2025, look at the approach numbers. Just picking up strokes to the field there every single week. Tee to green numbers are good. Putting numbers are starting to stabilize. Very interested to see what he does during this Florida swing. I just think his talent is quite honestly much better than a lot of these other guys. Stephen Fisk is here. So he is somebody that I've been watching a lot. He had a great Korn Ferry Tour year last year. Kicks off his 2025, and it's admittedly been slow. I think that's fair, but he drives it well, has picked up strokes off the tee in all of those. The approach plays a little bit weak, but the real problem is the putter. And I think anytime that you can kind of get a change, right? I mean, maybe West Coast stuff isn't for him. That's fine. He goes to Mexico and he picks up a stroke putting on Paz Palom. Interested to see what he does on these Bermuda greens. Usually, Florida golf courses, and especially PGA National, flat, pure, not a lot of undulation. They're easier to read. I'm interested to see when you have a bad putter like that, who now gets to go to a new grass type and a new kind of completely different situation, it jumps out to me. I'll tell you, the rest of these guys are not putting up very compelling cases. I think Alejandro Tosti, who is $6,700, might win this golf tournament and he might finish dead last. This dude is just an absolute rocket. I could see him like going after everything. Maybe that goes well. Maybe he hits 19 balls into the water. He has played here one time. He missed the cut. It was last year. The only good news about Alejandro, or I guess the biggest piece, is that of these 6K guys, I would not say a lot of them have legitimate top 10 upside. Like when's the last time Ben Silverman finished inside the top 10? Chandler Phillips, Mark Hubbard, no offense to those guys. But Alejandro Tosti at least does it, right? He did it last week in Mexico. He finished T4 at Q School. He had a T9 at Shriner. Like when he plays well, he's in it. When he doesn't, he goes home early. So if you're looking for that down at the bottom of the board, it is available to you. Okay. Let's run a model here. RickRunGood custom model. I have not thought too much about what I'm going to put into this yet. So let's go with two things before I forget. Course history. We're going to put 10 on PGA National. We are also going to put 10 on strokes gained hard courses. I understand they have softened this a bit, but I don't mind it. Then I'm also going to go back up to weighted strokes gained and give me that baseline again of 25. It's still a pretty good mix of, especially in this field, you've got, 10 or 12 guys that are, higher end PGA Tour players, your Russell Henleys, your Daniel Bergers, your Shane Lowry, Sepp Straka, your winners on the PGA Tour. And then you've got guys who are making like their third and fourth career start. So I do think we need to take in weighted strokes gained total for this week. I'm going to go around the green and do 10 on scrambling. Scrambling is also a par type of stat. And I'm also going to do bogey avoidance for 10. See what I'm kind of building here? For driving, I am going to go total driving for 15. A strokes gained approach last 36 for 10. This is a very different model for me. I will remember to save it this time. And then putting on Bermuda for our final 10. My number one player is, oh mama. Is this, is the tail wagging the dog or is the dog wagging the tail? Daniel Berger is my number one player. Feels right, but also it feels right to me, the person who put in the inputs. But I didn't try to cherry pick it for Daniel Berger. Look who's number 2, Kurt Kitayama. This is such. If this was, man, I don't know. Like, sometimes I get these like flashback feelings of just, or maybe they're flash forward feelings of us sitting here on Sunday night when Kurt Kitayama wins this and being like, you moron. Obviously, he won this golf tournament. Why did we care at all when he was one of the favorites last week? He played well enough and missed the, like, who cares? He's won in Florida before. Like, what are we doing? Right? Shane Lowry 3, Sepp Straka 4, Sung J M is 5, Lucas Glover is 6, Keith Mitchell, Denny McCarthy, Mac Meisner, shout out, and Russell Henley 10. What do you see there? I see a lot of guys in the 8, 9, and 10K range, which I think makes sense. I think, you know, as we were going through it, a lot of those guys were certainly very reasonable options. Yeah, am I just going to bet Berger and Kitayama? Probably. Yeah. Okay, well, let me do some favorites and unfavorites real quick. Okay. I'm going to save this before I forget. So, save model. We're going to call this, we're going to date it correctly. And then we're going to call it Cognizant, stupid name, Monday model. So we can revisit this on Tuesday, which is when the live show is. Get your questions in now. I'll go through as many as possible. Appreciate all the support along the way. Go sign up for Rick Run Good. Go sign up for Splash. We are continuing laser focused, tunnel vision. Best of luck. I'll see you next week or later, Tuesday. Bye.